All right, thanks for doing this talk with me. I'll let you introduce yourself to everybody.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Stephanie, and I've been a model for about 8 years now. I would say I've been in the modeling industry for 8 years because COVID took like 2.5 of those, and I was doing more behind the scenes stuff with that.
So just give me a quick, brief background on how you actually got started in the industry.
Yeah, sure. So I kind of fell into it, I guess, by chance. My aunt is and was a model for a home shopping network. And she said to me when I was in college, like, I think you might really like this. It's a great opportunity. My agency is having an open casting and I would love for you to go. And I was like, really? I don't know. Like, are they going to choose me? I was kind of hesitant because I just didn't really think that they would pick me, honestly. And I was like, you know what? Let me just try it. It sounds like it would be a really cool opportunity. So I went to the open casting and I was kind of like nervous when I was there looking around. Everybody had their portfolios and I kind of was like, I think I have my resume or something. Like, I don't know. It's like, it was a while ago, but so then I went in and they were super nice. I felt like I got along with them right away, which is always a good sign. Like the conversation was flowing and I just felt really comfortable there. And they did some like makeup shots too. So they had us bring a black tank top and a cloth headband, I think for more beauty stuff. And then I signed with them and it was really cool and exciting. And I started doing a lot of the home shopping modeling after that, for beauty brands and fashion brands and things along those lines. And then I started to trickle my way into more e-commerce and print work and even commercial work now.
Okay. So question, does your aunt still model now?
She does.
Yeah. I'll have to get her name.
So she's the best, dude.
Yeah. At what point did it click for you that this could be a career? Because you mentioned that you were a junior in high school or college?
Junior in college,
Junior
yeah.
in college. So you're going to school for something. What were you going to school for?
I was going to school for political science.
Political science.
I have to say, when I chose my major in school, I was a little back and forth between something creative and something else that I thought maybe would be more of like a good guarantee that I would get a job after school. So I chose political science because I was like, oh, then I can go to law school and be a lawyer and then everything will be all planned out and it'll be great.
And so when did you say, I'm going to be a full-time model and take this seriously?
That's a good question because there were times when I felt like that. So when I graduated college, I was still modeling and I was like, I don't want to give this up yet. Like I want to keep going with it and see where it goes. And that was in 2019. But I always had a second job up until last year. So it was about October of 2023. I'm trying to think like back about October of 2023 where I was getting pretty busy with modeling and I had a second job and I was like, well, I feel like my second job is getting in the way of all these modeling opportunities and they're only going to last so long. So I quit the second job or whatever that job was, the first job, second, however you want to view it. I guess clearly my intentions were to model if I'm calling it my second job.
Yeah. What job really stood out for you? Because I know in 2019, I got my first large commercial photography job and I really saw what budgets could inflate to. So what job was that job where you said, oh, wow, this is, a lot of money relative to where you're at in your life and things like that, where it really just made you happy?
Yeah, that's a great question. There were a couple of jobs that made me really happy in terms of like what you could do with it and also what the industry had to offer. So I would say there's probably two that stood out to me. I started to do, I guess more like you could call it campaign work for that same home shopping network. And they had really cool print and online campaigns, like, the headers when you're shopping and it has a theme or something. And I wasn't used to shooting like that. I was doing on-air stuff or, e-commerce with a white background. And so to be like on location or in really cool style clothing with like, cool backgrounds and everybody's collaborating together for like a really interesting vision. and you have to do it with other models too. I was like, this is really cool. Like, I really like this. And so that's when I wanted to model more. But then I also did a commercial for a hotel company, and I was like,
That was big.
dang!
Yeah. I was about to say now you're talking money.
I was like, okay, like,
People really get paid. Don't
oh
they?
yeah, and they put us up in the hotel. I was like, sure, I'll do this all day long.
Yeah, that's good. I work with a lot of newer models, and I do a lot of model tests. And I was showing the model an image on my Instagram, and it was of Blair.
Oh my gosh.
You probably worked with Blair before.
Blair's the one who told me to follow you on Instagram.
Oh, that's nice. I have to thank her for that.
She's
And
awesome.
She's great. And she brings a lot of energy. She's great with posing. She really explores. She's not scared to, for lack of a better word, look a bit foolish, but
Yes.
just knowing like we're trying to find the image, and she does it with a confidence that really shows. And I was showing this particular model the images, and I was singing her praises, Blair's, and the model was like, "Oh, she went to the model camp."
Yes,
And
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I never knew that." And it was almost in a way to say that's why she is so good. For me, she has always been good.
I agree.
And it made me start doing some research, and I started deep diving on your Instagram and things like that. And I realized you went to the same model camp as well. And was that an aha moment for you? Did it teach you a lot? Did you feel as though it elevated you to the next level, or was it an experience independent of those things?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. The model campaigns that I referenced earlier, where it was like on set and really cool, I did a lot of those with Blair, and I would watch her because she's so good, and I would be like, wow, she's amazing. Like, I hope I can model like that one day. And I saw that she had gone to the camp, and like you said, she's always been amazing.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of curious about it though, because she, I think, had on a sweatshirt for it like one day, or was telling me about it, and she was like, you should try this, because I was asking her a lot of questions about the industry, advice, because I had just transitioned into modeling, and she was really helpful. And so she had, told me about the model camp, and I was like, let me just apply, and I want to see, because I feel like it would be really good for me, especially since I just decided to do only modeling. I felt like that was the right time to do the camp. And so then I went, and it was equal parts motivating in terms of managing yourself also as a business, because it's really just you when you're modeling, especially if you're freelance, but also like getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things and learning from a pro who's been in the industry for however many years, and speaks to all of you like individuals, and helping everybody was a really, really good experience for me. And I think it kicked off my motivation to hit it hard and try to do as much as I can to get as much work as possible. And it helped me like know which avenues to take, I think, in terms of like, how to seek maybe agencies, or how to seek certain photographers to shoot with, and just all of the little industry ins and outs, as well as the posing and the runway walk itself.
So after that experience, how did your actual posing change?
Yeah, I think I felt more comfortable trying new things, and I was like, I think I was very trying to be by the book when I first started, because I didn't want people to be like, tone it down, or like, I wanted everybody to be really happy with what I was doing, and I was kind of nervous to experiment too much, because I was new, and I think it was just me, So it gave me, I think, the okay to try to be maybe a little bit more bold, or channel your emotions properly, because that was a big part of it too, was putting emotions into the photo. And as well as the runway walk too, that really helped me. And I wound up booking New York Fashion Week after, and I would have never even tried it before, because I didn't think that I was, a classic runway model.
What's your relationship with your agent?
The agency that I've been with since the beginning had me on a test shoot, like I think a week after I signed with her. And I felt like she did a really good job of trying to get me into a bunch of different areas quickly to see what I maybe worked with, what I didn't, but also just to get me work and to get me experience behind the camera. So I was really grateful for that. And she's still really good about it. So I feel like I have a really good relationship with that agent, especially because it's been so many years. But I'm definitely really grateful for how much she did for me in the very beginning, because she really made sure I had photographers to test with. And, you know, it wasn't always, oh, shoot, you have to pay for out of pocket, which is very valuable in and of itself. But when you're a college student and you're first starting, it might not be available to you in that moment. So being able to have like a trade, you know, trade for print or whatever you want to call it shoot was really nice for me, because it helped me like break that barrier, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
And then also to refer me to different, you know, people to then have a paid shoot with, etc.
When it comes to testing, do you reach out to photographers? Do you wait for them to reach out to you? And I'm talking about paid and non-paid tests. Do you send a lot of DMs, or do you just kind of post and people find you?
I think almost every photographer I've shot with, I've sent a DM. Did I DM you first?
I don't know.
I don't remember, but I do remember like Blair had me follow.
Yeah. Like, a year, probably more at this point.
A lot of the times, if I see a photographer that somebody posts that they did a shoot with, I'll go and follow them right away if I really like that image. And then I'll go and follow them right away with the intention to message them eventually. Or if my agent refers me to a photographer, I'll also message them that way, because sometimes they always have really good recommendations, but I'll use Instagram to reach out to photographers, or ask my agents as well, or ask other models. That's like honestly the best source that you could have, because you both do the same thing. So, you know, it's valuable to hear their experience as well. And, you know, that's how I followed you on Instagram, and you wind up meeting some cool people that way.
So just like models, photographers have their own style. There are some photographers that are very editorial and they shoot edgy models. And then you have photographers who shoot girls sexy. Then you have photographers who shoot commercial models, and photographers who shoot beauty.
Right.
When you see all of these categories, you choose the photographer based off of what they do already and how you would like to see yourself?
Yes, yeah. So I'll look at their page and see what type of photos they typically shoot. Like you said, is it editorial? Is it more commercial? Beauty? I don't really shoot a lot of the sexy stuff at the moment. But I'll kind of look at that and see what their range is, because I feel like if I see it and it's something I want to do, or, you know, maybe I'm not the best at it yet, but I want to try it and I want to get into that lane. Or if I'm like, I love these pictures, I could so see myself in this, you know, or I need commercial photos or something like that. It's definitely like the style, the vibe, and whether or not I like the pictures.
So for me, a lot of times I'll have, at one point my work was very commercial, and it's slowly bridging a little bit of in between. Like, I'm not fully editorial, like I know that, because I don't have the knowledge of the posing, the aesthetic, all of that. So I'm kind of like commercial, little bit of editorial, but not fully on that side of the spectrum. And sometimes I'll have girls and guys who are very far this way try to shoot with me, and it's like I can't force them into that space. I'm conscious of that when I look at a model. I can look at a model's features, like, you know, like guys in particular. Like, I can look at a guy and say like, oh, he's very Nautica, polo, and then you have like more of a slimmer guy who may be, you know, Theory or ASOS or something like that. So
right.
like, I can look at a guy and say, all right, you just won't fit this. And I can look at a girl and say, you just won't fit this type of look. I wonder, are models conscious of that? Because sometimes I'm like, you know, they'll show me something, I'm just like, that's not you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
are models conscious of what's them Or is there some level of, for lack of a better word, delusion you have to do this job to begin with?
I think that's a good question. I feel like it probably depends on the model, and I guess just the person in general. I feel like, for example, for myself, I'm self-aware enough to know maybe I won't fit into certain boxes, but there's also a part of me that if I can maybe half fit into that box and I just want to try it just to see, from a creative standpoint, that's something that I know. You know, if you're booking jobs, you know who's booking you. So you have to have some degree of awareness to what your look kind of entails. And that's also where I feel like agencies help too. I've had agents tell me, I asked like, what style photos do you want me to try to test next that would be best for my book? Because I want to make sure that they're going to help me get more work. And they would say, well, I think you would look good leaning in X, Y, and Z, type of fashion.
That's great direction.
So that helped me. Yeah. But I think it just depends on the person. I think sometimes you want to have fun with photos because you see stuff and you love it. But I think other models I talk to are also decently self-aware in terms of, what their range is and what they can kind of go into, especially in terms of booked jobs as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I've never asked a model that question because sometimes I'm just like, because even as a photographer, as an artist, you have to have a certain level of confidence to even have 10 people judging your images as they come in live.
Yes.
So we all have some confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, not putting yourself into a box, even if you feel, maybe I book a lot of commercial work or something, refraining from keeping yourself from trying new things, because we see things change all the time. Yeah. I feel like looks change all the time.
Your posing can
change.
Get
so you never really know.
And things like that.
Yeah, and being able to say, maybe I'll try this. If it doesn't work and they don't like it, that's fine. I think a lot of models I talk to are always like, I'm gonna audition for it, and if I'm not what they're looking for, I audition for it. I got practice doing the audition, or cast. Sorry, I was thinking also about acting. But having that, I'm gonna do the best that I personally can, and whether or not the client wants to go with that is fine, but if they don't, that's fine too.
Okay. And just to kind of wrap things up, what advice do you wish you knew before signing and getting into this industry that you would like to pass on to somebody else?
That's a good question.
I know it's probably a lot, but maybe we'll do top 3 or something like that.
Yeah, top 3. I think I started out pretty timid, and I didn't want to, I guess upset any clients or whatever by being too much. I think that sounds crazy, but I think that's how I was when I first started. I kind of was more shy. I was just happy to get whatever.
How can you be too much to a client?
I think with posing,
okay.
Maybe necessarily not in control of your facial features or your posing. That's a good question. Okay. I think I was timid because I was just a beginner, and I was trying to be okay, everything's fine, it's fine, even if the clothes don't fit or something like that, it's okay, I'll make it work.
And so what is your advice to someone in that situation? Is it to not be timid, speak up, or what are you saying?
Yeah, I think it's important to know yourself, I guess, and know, I'm trying to think in terms of that. I think being yourself sounds more cliche, but I think staying strong in how you feel you want to present yourself in that booking or in that job or in that photo shoot. Because if you have an idea and you feel excited about it, and maybe you're holding yourself back from it because you don't want to seem stupid or try something new, it could be awesome. Okay. Especially if you're feeling so strongly about it and you're inspired by it.
So when you get a client, as a photographer, I have to research the brand and aesthetic. Do you do that as well, or do you show up to work? Are you like, hey, so-and-so booked me, I'm here, my agent told me to show up? Or are you like the night before, maybe even a week before, looking at what they currently have on their website and seeing what their aesthetic is?
I always do that, and I'll do that if I want to work for a client as well. So then I can kind of plan in my head, what type of stuff do I want in my portfolio for this? And I think that's important too for new models, is to think about how you want your portfolio to present itself, because that's also your resume. And I think also just like making sure that you always feel comfortable in whatever situation you're in, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. And that's kind of maybe it sounds extreme, but if you have like model in your bio, you'd be surprised at how many people will come into your Instagram DMs, and maybe they're not always people who are very comfortable to shoot with, or maybe they're not people that you necessarily want to work with. And for whatever reason, like on terms of comfort level, maybe it's not your style and you don't want to dress that way, if that makes sense. And it's okay to have boundaries in that sense, because it's just going to set you up in the future to be able to say like, I'm not comfortable wearing, maybe a certain type of outfit for some people or anything like that. It's okay to have parameters that you want to work within. You don't have to do everything all the time, all at once, say yes to everything, burn yourself out, and be like all over the place.
What resources would you tell new models to check out?
Yeah, I think checking out agencies' websites is interesting to see what kind of work they get other models. TikTok has become an amazing resource recently, because everyone posts like just the reality of everything. And I think it's cool to see like day in the lives of certain models, like what the industry really looks like for them, what they do for themselves to get more work. I think like social media is a really, really good tool, and being able to message other models and ask them questions and build a community that way is also really important. I've reached out to a lot of models that are, asking them a bunch of questions like, hey, how did you manage this at this period in time, that were at a place in their career that I wanted to be at. And they answered so kindly, and they gave me really, really good advice before casting even, and just keeping an eye on like brands too, because there's a couple brands that do like open castings once a year and everything. And I think that's a cool resource just to like cast and know what it's like and everything like that.
Okay. And one more question. How are you handling taxes?
I'm the worst. Once you said taxes, I was like, I've never had to file like the kind where you just like send it over, like, like the W-2 or whatever. So because I started doing this in college, I was like, what is this? Are you kidding me? Like, I have to do all my expenses and everything. I'm like calling my parents. I'm like, is this legal to like write this off? Like, it feels like it's not, but it is. And I'm getting better at it, because I've like talked to my accountant. I have an accountant, very important if you're like me. And being able to like, I think that's kind of a skill that you have to build too, is being like, how can I make this work as a tax write-off, and also something that will benefit my business and me at the same time, if that makes sense?
So just so people understand, your agent books you work, make sure you get the correct rate. It's your responsibility to keep track of your expenses, your income, and pay your taxes.
Yeah, they'll if you're with an agency, they will send you a W-9, which is like that little paper thing, and it has information that apparently the tax people need. But it's up to you to keep track of your expenses, your write-offs, and then your income as well. And I think it gets interesting when it's not through an agency. You know what I mean? Like if you're...
So I guess your agent at the end of the year 1099s you.
1099, sorry, that's what I'm talking about.
So they'll send you a 1099 saying, we paid you X
The
amount of dollars.
1099, yes.
We paid you X amount of dollars this year.
Exactly.
And they did not take tax out of that money, so then it's
No.
yours. So are you quarterly? Are you at the end of the year? Because I mean, like,
Yeah.
after 10 years of being a photographer, I shouldn't even say this on camera, but after 10 years of being a photographer, I mean, it takes a long time to get everything under control. I mean, you have to get your skills, your connections, all of that, and then, you know, you sprinkle taxes in. But there are people who have a lot of self-control and come right in doing the proper bookkeeping and accounting and things like that. So now,
Yeah.
8 years in, do you feel as though you finally have a control on that type of stuff?
I think I have more of a control than when I started.
That's great.
And I do think what you just said is an important thing for people to know is like you do have to invest in yourself if you want to get to a certain point. It could be over an extended period of time. It could be all at once if you want to like go. But you can't really avoid it in that sense.
That's good, yeah.
But don't give up is probably the first one that I'll say, because I feel like that with myself. I had so many times when I didn't get an answer from an agency I wanted to be with, maybe in a different city, or it was a really slow month and I thought, oh man, like my clients might not want to book me anymore, just out of, you know, self-confidence and whatever, because it is an industry that goes up and down. And and then it can test you in that sense. Yeah.
All right, let me use this as a break to cut, but you can continue the thought.
Okay. Do you want me to start over because there was like music in the
No, it's
background? Okay. So I think that's actually probably one of the most valuable pieces of advice, because I've had plenty of times where I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I am good enough. I don't know if enough clients like me, or, you know, you have to be able to get comfortable with those ups and downs and know that they're not permanent, and they're not like a subscription, you know, like just because you had a month where it was really slow, didn't hear back from anybody, haven't, you know, been able to get any responses, even a rejection from agencies or anything. Like, it's not all about agencies. You can be a successful model without one as well, which is probably another piece of advice. Like, it's okay to freelance as well. And I've met really great photographers, and I've booked jobs through photographers as well. And so there's a lot of different avenues that you can go. It's not just agency. You can also work with a lot of makeup artists, and you can book cool jobs that way too.
Nice. So thank you for sitting down talking with me, and best of luck. And
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.